Episode of the Field of 68 Best Bets show presented by BetRivers. We are the three-man weave here to talk about college basketball. Fellas, a great slate today. Fantastic slate. There are 0 extra games on the board. Wow. I can't remember the last time it's happened, actually. Pretty cool. Hey, before we get to takeaways, quick note. Obviously, the entire sports world is thinking about Damar Hamlin. We wish him a very speedy recovery. Scary situation last night, Jim, in the Bills game. Reminded maybe some college basketball people of the Keontae Johnson collapse on the floor.
Right.
Hoping for a speedy recovery there. Not much else to say. Jim, anything to add or takeaways from yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I also watched Christian Eriksen collapse in the Euros 2 years ago, and that spooked me really badly. And this felt similar to that of like teammates crying and stuff. We have to continue doing our college hoop show, so we're going to press on. But like you said, thoughts are with him, and we wanted to make sure we at least acknowledged it and sent positive vibes. College hoops takeaway, real quick. Zach Edey foul trouble does matter. He got in foul trouble early. Rutgers took the 10-point lead at halftime. Purdue battled back, but it's just hard against that defense to make extended runs against Rutgers. They hung around. Matt, Cammie Spencer with the dagger late to give Rutgers a giant win. It's the second straight year they beat Purdue as the number 1 team.
Yeah, it kind of came full circle. My Greyhounds could have used Cam Spencer in that dismal performance against American, who looks like, for my money, not Colgate good, but like really, really, really good. And I haven't really paid much attention to the Patriot, but I think that's going to be a Colgate first place finish, but not a Colgate runaway, as I may have thought. Like, American has real size and their guards are getting healthier now. And I don't know. I learned very quickly, 10 minutes in, probably that was a bad bet. So good to kind of get that learning as you lose money, Kai. So good.
Oh, well, and Matt, there's teams you learn about as you go, and losing is the best way to do it. I've bet Loyola Maryland 2 games in a row now. I will not bet them the rest of the year, and that's learning the hard way. That's how you do it. I kicked them off a cliff in the ratings. American's pretty good. So kudos to them. Unfortunately, we've been high on that team for the last 4 or 5 years, and now finally they hit their stride. Just missed them by a little bit. My takeaway was Rutgers as well, Jim. Holy cow. They're legit. Up to 16th in KenPom. And I watching that game, I was like, man, this team is really, really good. Forget about the home and away splits of the past. They really played well. Purdue, by the way, 0-7 against the spread the last 7 games. Interesting.
That's a nugget right there.
Yeah, clearly a very good team, but wow, against the number, they have not been doing very well.
Kai, them and UConn now, right? Kind of like league play coming back to the world a little bit.
Coming back down a bit. Yeah, the Portland showings have definitely they've tapered off a bit. I'm still a believer in both teams, but interesting nugget nonetheless. All right, we're getting into the slate. Like I said, it's a great one today on Tuesday, Super Tuesday here. We're starting with Kansas at Texas Tech. The market likes the Raiders. It's plus 1.5. I think it opened around 2.5. Matthew, it's a prime spot for Texas Tech, sitting at 0-1 in the Big 12 at home against big bad Kansas. Pop quiz: who is KenPom's number 1 home court advantage?
Texas Tech.
It's Texas Tech.
Got it. Let's go, baby.
Who do you like in this game?
Nailed it. 1 for 1 on trivia in the new year. Kai, voice a little better today, actually. Kind of surprised myself here as I talk and hear myself. Not great, though. 75%. Everyone was on TCU, right? Last game, I was like, TCU, great spot. Texas Tech, they fraudulent. Maybe, we don't know. Are they playing better? We don't know. TCU squeaks out a cover. So I don't know. What do we learn from that game? Like, Texas Tech maybe a little more feisty, at least than I thought. I don't agree with the money here. You're right, Kai. Money coming in on Texas Tech, home dog effectively. I think Kansas is the right bet. I'm sorry. I know that home crowd's going to be rocking. Texas Tech is healthier. They have a right to play better than they did earlier in the season, Jim, but I just don't fully buy this roster. So I like Jayhawks.
Yeah, I think there maybe was something to TCU lacking some gusto in that game too. Early crowd was non-existent. Everybody was in Glendale cheering.
It was TCU's crowd, basically. Sorry, it was Texas Tech's crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, there was more red. There was more noise for when Texas Tech succeeded. So I think that was more about that. I had it in my head that maybe this was a house of horrors for Kansas because they lost their last year. But they've actually won 3 of the last 5 in Lubbock, 2 of the last 3 last year, just stuck in my head for some reason because the environment is really insane there. I think it is a very worthy number 1 in KenPom home court advantage. So you really got to juice it up there. But off that loss, Kai, pretty dialed in here. I think they've got some of the wing versatility that you need to stick with Kansas. I think they'll make everyone other than Grady Dick a shooter, make them go over the top, take away the lane. That's usually the strength of this no middle with Mark Adams. I do lean Tech on just like a vibe spot thing, but my number makes it exactly what it is, so I did not bet it.
Yeah, spot-wise, it's a home run for Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech beat Kansas by 8 last year at home. Both teams probably a little bit worse than last year, but it's a hype spot, man. This home court is no joke. It's still Texas Tech. They're still a really good team. Mark Adams, still a good X's and O's coach, on-court coach. I think that's the handicap. The talent's obviously with Kansas, but the spot in the crowd is Texas Tech. Also, resume purposes, they're not looking too great without a win here. So they do need this one quite a bit. I lean towards Texas Tech. I didn't take it. I lean their way.
Yeah, if they don't win, we'll get another Goodman. Their best wins are at home against Louisiana Tech, at home against Georgetown.
Yeah, Goodman likes to jab the Texas Tech faithful. Next game, Big East. Marquette at St. John's. This is our first game of the evening, I believe. Jim, it is 2.5. It's been hovering 2.5 all day. Who do you like in this one at St. John's?
Man, my gut screamed Marquette here. I just think they are really well put together, cohesive team that knows who they are and plays really, really hard, whereas St. John's is a little disjointed, disgruntled. I don't think they have the ball handling or the shooting to beat Marquette's defense. I think you have to go over the top with them and take care of it. Meanwhile, on the other side, Marquette, fantastic at taking care of the ball despite playing fast. They've got multiple ball handlers. They can play through their big and Iguodaro if they need to relieve pressure, a little bit of outlet there. I think that's perfect against St. John's. I didn't have a big number edge here, Kai, but I played it small on the gut towards Marquette. I just think they're going to be able to score, and St. John's is a little bit in disarray right now. They've lost a few in a row, so maybe the spot sets up better for them. But Matt, I'm into the Golden Eagles. By the way, CJ Moore at The Athletic wrote up a big breakdown on their offense today. It's really good. The Shaka offensive revolution actually started at Texas, Matt. His last year, they got a lot better. He brought in some minds, and it looks for real.
Yeah, again, I think I brought up this point on our podcast or this show. Like the D3, D2 landscape of coaches has so many brilliant minds that just haven't been noticed. And he found one here's his name from Northwest Missouri State, Kai, where your brother, stepbrother, played. Little close in there, whatever. Truman, thank you. Anyway, I like Marquette. I'm with Jim on this one. Let's just be simple. We don't need to overthink this. The only worry, I guess, from a Marquette perspective is like the ball handling, but they've taken care of the ball this year, as Jim mentioned. Looked at last year, Tyler Kolek played 33 minutes, only had 2 turnovers while dishing out 6 assists. Gives me confidence that he can handle the pressure. He's seen it before. He won't be completely thwarted by it. So, yeah, I like Marquette here.
Hey, mic check here. I switched my mic.
Hey.
Is that me or you? I thought I was going to
why are my settings different, Zoom? I have not changed them. Anyways, yeah, apparently I was using my wrong mic. Probably sounded poorly. Yes, I like Marquette as well here. I think they're legit. I guess the spot's better for St. John's. 0-3 in the Big East. Need the win. Hyper motivation. But, man, this Marquette team is very good. And I don't think St. John's is very good. I think they're still a little bit overrated in the market. They have to have a big day on the glass. They have to try to bother Marquette ball handlers. I'm not sure they can do it. Tons of points, though. Both teams are running a lot in this game. It's going to be up and down. I would guess high 70 possessions, maybe 80. So I lean towards the Eagles and the over in this game.
Yep. Kai, you know who else was 0-3 against a good team coming to town? It was Stanford, and they still lost and didn't cover. So sometimes it's just go with the better team. Yep.
Yeah.
Bad team. All right, next game here. Virginia at Pittsburgh. That's right. Pitt, guys, is 3-0 in the ACC. Matt, a win here puts them in a tie with Miami for sole possession of first place at 4-0. Holy cow. Virginia, the better team, but man, how can you go against Pitt like the way they've been playing lately? It is 6 points is the spread. What do you think?
God, yeah, my numbers are actually begging me to bet Pitt right now. I just don't want to do it. I don't love the matchup and the coaching edge. Well,
little coaching edge.
Yeah, you say that, but look at the ATS leaderboard this year. I mean, Pitt's been awesome, and they've done it without John Hughley. I think we have to give Mr. Capel some credit, as hard as that may be for
addition by subtraction.
Addition by subtraction, which doesn't really make sense given how important he was to that team last year. And I think he was an effective player when fully healthy. He just hasn't really been this season. And their guards are awesome, and they're playing through their guards. They're making shots. They actually look like a connected team that shares the ball. All that said, I don't like the matchup against Virginia, Jim. I think who's crockpot, the Panthers here. I'm curious what the home court juju is tonight. Will the Oakland Zoo be vintage Oakland Zoo with, loud ruckus like it was in the old Jamie Dixon days, or will it be kind of that vacant, cavernous, you don't really have that behind you?
You'd hope to see the good crowd, considering how well they're playing, 3-0 in the ACC, and a big-time foe coming to town. Team won the national championship in recent history. I love the under here. Just kidding. Head fake. I know Scott was saying I like the over. That's true. I said it on VSiN. I think Pitt can actually score. This non-Hughley version is set up better to beat Virginia. You've got more shooting on the floor, more versatility. I think that is a positive. And then I worry about their defensive focus. Maybe they come out and get stops early like Georgia Tech did, and then they just wear down. I think that happens a lot against this motion. You just kind of get sick of guarding it for 25 seconds. Virginia starts to get better and better shots off the rolls and stuff. I think this ends up going over, being inefficient. I have a worse number than where it's at right now. It's been bet down. But Kai, 4 straight have actually gone over between these two teams. It's kind of been an over matchup. I like that. That's my favorite play here. I don't have a strong take on the side.
Yeah, sidewise can Pitt hit shots. They're kind of feast or famine this year. A pretty good shooting team. They like to take a lot of outside shots. And Blake Hinson, man, has been awesome, as well as Burton. Burton's getting all the headlines. But, man, Hinson, what a player. He took a year or two off, I think, just transferring around to schools. Didn't think I'd see him again in college basketball. And here he is having a fantastic year for them. I think Virginia's offense kind of gets what it wants here, Jim, to your over point. A lot of foul trips, a lot of open looks. But, man, at +6, I do lean towards Pitt. Don't have the stones to lay it or to take it, rather. But that's where I'm leaning. Seton Hall, Creighton, another Big East matchup here to finish us off before our first chat mob round. Jim, Seton Hall's been feisty this year, but still needs to rack up some wins, just 1-3 in the Big East. Creighton's back up on the upswing. They've won their last 2 games by an average of 17, 18 points, and they're at home. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like the most obvious statement, Captain Obvious ever. They're just better with Kalkbrenner. He makes them better in a whole lot of ways. Even offensively, you don't think of him as like this devastating offensive player, but he rolls really well. He has a ton of gravity in that sense. And I think they just play more confidently when he's out there. He's kind of a security blanket. And of course, defensively, he's a monster. Creighton's games have been really decided by their 3-point shooting. Like, it's also another Captain Obvious kind of statement, but they played 14 games. 4 of them they shot under 30% from 3, and in 3 of them they shot over 50%. Like, half their games are outlier type shooting performances. So it is tougher to handicap them, Matt, and that's kept me away from them here. I do think Seton Hall struggles to score because they're not going to score at the rim, and I don't trust their shooting. But I didn't end up playing anything on this one. Creighton's just a tough team for me to evaluate right now.
Yeah, I like Seton Hall in general, which has been like kind of a contrarian take. But they really haven't played that well. They've kind of caught teams at the right times. You look back at their efforts the last 4 or 5 games, and then obviously St. John's is St. John's. And against this matchup, without Tyrese Samuel up front, they are severely lacking in inside presence. And I think the full version of this defense we've not seen yet. I think we'll see a Seton Hall defense that's fairly devastating when you have like an interior linchpin, but they don't have that yet. So it's a lot of guards. We saw him get beat up inside, even by Marquette on the road. So I don't love that against a Kalkbrenner, Creighton-led squad here, Kai.
Yeah, there's a big 4-factor edge in this game. Seton Hall gets the line at the 6th highest rate in the country. They're 6th in free throw rate. Creighton's the best team in the country at defending without fouling. They do not foul. It's going to be very hard for Seton Hall to manufacture points. They really can't shoot. You're not getting much inside against Kalkbrenner, and Creighton will not send you to the line. Creighton's offense is also starting to get to go a little bit. 1.1 points per possession, at least in both their last 2 games. Again, the home court advantage, I think, is real for Creighton, especially in the Big East. Long travel for these squads coming from the East Coast. I think it's Creighton's game. Spread might be a little bit high at 8.5, but I still lean their way.
I'm sorry. I said, I meant to say Yetna, not Samuel. Samuel's playing. Yetna has not played.
Yetna has been out. Yetna has been out all year.
Yeah, it's like no timetable, I think.
No timetable. Yep.
Yeah, tough.
All right. Chat mob round 1. I think Jim is my czar.
Sure am. Going to Matt first for the MAC. Ohio at Buffalo. Question come from Scott. Kind of erratic teams, Buffalo especially. I think a team we think is really kind of ping-ponging between good performance and bad. Ohio's taken a little bit of money here. Spreads close to a pick. Let's see exactly what it is right now.
-1 Ohio, I think. Yeah.
Yep, Ohio -1. So it's flipped favorites over to Ohio. What do you think?
Zid Powell's status for Buffalo matters. He's one of their better guards. JUCO kid's had some monster games this year. I like the Bobcats. I don't want to overthink this. I just think they're better. Buffalo's had some weirdly impressive results in non-conference, but I think Ohio's the more complete, more cohesive team. So yeah, I like the Bobcats.
Who's the freshman they just got, Matt? That they're a big fan of? Is it AJ Brown? Is that his name?
AJ Brown, yeah, for Ohio. He's had some monster games down the non-con stretch.
Kai, SEC here, one that did not make the outline. Ole Miss at Alabama from Ryan Furness here. Alabama laying 12, bet up from 11. Ole Miss may be better as an underdog, but also that offense, how do they score against Alabama?
I don't know. And my number does lean towards Ole Miss. 11.5, 12. It's a lot of points for a team that's not terrible in the Rebels, but I'm not fading Alabama at home here. They're super dangerous. They could easily win this game by 15. No thanks. Don't want the action.
All right, Matthew, need a total take from you on Utah State and Air Force because we're holstering the side for best bets. So you can only talk total here if you have anything.
I like under, I think. The only way their team really scores, I think, is making shots. The Air Force's interior defense is better than we thought, and Utah State's is obviously very long and lengthy, and I just think that both teams are going to have to make shots to go to this total. Pace should be slower. I think Air Force pace is played here, not Utah State's.
Yeah, the zone just kind of sucks the life out of you, and it's elevation, so it's tough to really get them to run. All right, Kai, from Matt Balte here. Kent State first half against Western Michigan. The game's 18.5, full game, around 10.5 for the first half. I kind of love it. What do you think?
Yeah, I lean that way. Sure. I did not take it full game, but Kent State, best team in the MAC, I would say. Pretty certainly. Western Michigan, probably the worst team. I think it could be a blowout. First half, Kent State could overwhelm them pretty quickly. I like that angle.
Yeah, I might be betting Western Michigan full game. Sorry, guys.
Why I bet Kent State first half. Do whatever you got to do, Matthew.
All right. Yeah, I probably won't, but it really tickled my fancy.
I
like betting bad teams.
Bad teams. I know you
like
are. I know you are. You're sniffing them out. All right. From Ray Reyes here. New Mexico at Fresno. We got the Lobos back on the road after they almost lost at a shorthanded Wyoming team. This one's also relatively short spread. New Mexico laying 4.5. Total's been bet up. I agree with that. I think there's going to be some points. Matt, what do you think?
I kind of like the road favorite here. We just saw New Mexico kind of get their first real type of test. And they survived it. Now they go over to the weirdly hard to play at Save Mart Center, which is kind of a big cavernous venue. And it's always kind of a house. It's way too big for the people.
One of the 10 biggest venues in the country.
Yeah, it's like top 15 in attendance. It's a majestic place apparently, but no one goes to the games. It's still a house of horrors for some of the Mountain West teams. I would be very weary if you're a Lobo fan. It's just one of those things where it's like the Marquette at St. John's. I just want to bet the better team in the short spread. So that's what my lean is.
Yeah, top like 15 capacity, not attendance.
Yeah, attendance, no. Capacity, yes. No one goes. No one's going.
21st, if you're curious.
Oh, that's 21st. Okay.
21st.
Kai, another MAC question from Matt Balte. It is maybe the second best team here. Toledo hosting Ball State. The Rockets, an 8.5-point favorite against the Cardinals.
Yeah. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. People are asking about the total as well. Nothing. Although I will say this, Toledo's the best over team in the country. So if you like that,
I like the over here. Yeah.
If you like that, go for that. They don't play defense. They score a lot and they run.
Yeah, this one's been bet up. I think Ball State's very much a pace taker.
Yeah.
They will play slowly if you do, and they'll run if you do. And I think that sets up well here.
Yep.
Last one before we get back to the outline. We're going to holster any Minnesota, Wisconsin takes for later. Luke Murphy asked about Notre Dame against Boston College, Matt. The Irish laying 2.5 on the road. He also was curious about Irish first half. What do you think?
Would lean the Irish, same theme of what we just discussed, like the short road favorite against a home dog that I don't really think has any home jaw. That doesn't scare me as a home dog, right? Boston College, like another healthier, maybe they're a buy low. I don't know. I would lean toward the Irish, but no play for me.
Yeah, I lean BC. I think this is
really?
Like some of those road favorites are good teams. Notre Dame's not a good team.
Yeah, Notre Dame's just bad. Yeah, both these teams are bad.
Yeah.
Don't bet this game. That's my take.
All right, back to the outline. There's some other really featured games we should get back to, Kai. Let's discuss those.
Let's talk Kansas State and Texas. Big 12 battle. Texas just survived Oklahoma on the road. Now they get their home opener. They're a Big 12 home opener against Kansas State. A scrappy team, Matthew, that just snuck by West Virginia in overtime. This is K-State's third true road game. They beat Cal. They lost to Butler. Not a whole lot of experience on the road, but are they scrappy enough to hang with Texas? Numbers around 8 or 9, I think, last time I checked.
I would have hammered Texas had they actually lost that OU game. Like, I think that gives them maybe a slight more of a locked in, focused, hyped, ready to go for this matchup against K-State, who I respect is like solid. I think they're very solid. They're just not what they're being appraised at some places. Now, in this case, I think the market has the number It's been bet down to 9. I think it's a little bit low, but it's not like egregiously low. I mean, K-State has been pretty competitive. Obviously, with West Virginia, they proved that. And I just don't trust Texas all the way yet in this post-Chris Beard era. So both spot for me scare me away, and the post-Beard thing.
Yeah, the post-Beard thing I don't love. Number-wise, after it's been bet down, I lean towards the Horns. I was surprised that it got taken down from 10 to 8.5. I don't think Texas is the defense you want to go against with like 2.5 offensive options. And K-State's really limited beyond Noel, Johnson, and then Tomlin. They don't really have another piece after that, especially with N'Guessan out for a while. Like, I actually think he matters. He's been really good, efficient this year. In Texas, maybe they're not going to be a great favorite, though, with Terry in charge. That will probably be what keeps me off it, Kai, but I would lean towards Hook'em Horns here.
Yeah, I think Texas can handle them. Turnover is going to be an issue for Kansas State. On the other end, it's really hard to fluster the Longhorn ball handlers. The talent edge is still massive here in favor of Texas, but I kind of agree with the money coming in on Kansas State. It is a big spread for a team still dealing with coaching issues. We're not sure how Texas is a big favorite, like you said, Jim, against a pretty good team in Kansas State. I'm still not totally sold on the Cats, but I'm not taking the points here. I'm not laying the points. I'm staying away. Next game on the outline, a lot of chatter about this one in the chat, so I'm excited to talk it. LSU at Kentucky. Matt, this was hammered down immediately from 11. Now it's creeping back up. It's around 10, 10.5. LSU's done nothing wrong. They're your classic team that's really, really good record-wise, 12-1, but still not loved by the analytics. 75th in KenPom. Have barely gotten by a lot of opponents, but wins are wins. They just beat Arkansas. Pretty impressive. Who do you like today against Kentucky?
I mean, LSU, you just talked about K-State, right? Like these are not last year's Providence teams. I just don't think they're that good. They've had a more fortunate and easier schedule than Providence to this point in the season. However, I do like the general angle that the money coming on LSU took, which is kind of the one I took with Louisville against Kentucky last game, covered by a whopping half point. So I'm not going to like beat my chest about that, but you're basically fading Kentucky in a spot where they're not all the way cohesive and don't really have like that terrifying favorite fear. So I think LSU is the right side here, but I'm not an LSU guy, so no bet for me.
Kentucky hasn't covered a game since November 23rd.
Right, it's been forever.
Isn't good. They're not covering numbers. They don't have their rotation figured out. They don't know who their best lineup is. I think LSU's willingness to zone against Arkansas was really smart, prudent. Kentucky's actually making threes this year, but against the right lineups, when they only have one or two shooters on the floor, I think LSU can zone and take advantage of that. Matt, we talked about, we're not like super enamored with this LSU team, but I think they're going to be better as an underdog, feisty.
Yeah, how about that?
I don't like them laying big numbers. As Kai mentioned, they've been horrific in that scenario, but I think getting double digits at a Kentucky team that, like we've said, is not very good right now against the number, not very good really overall. I would lean towards the Tigers. I saw somebody as that as their best bet in the chat, Kai. I'm buying that.
Yeah, my one worry is this is LSU's first true road game, which is incredible to say on January 3rd, but they have not played in a truly hostile environment yet. And Kentucky's certainly been bad against the spread this season, but they're still a really talented team. There's no way they don't have their way inside and on the glass against LSU. Could be like really, really bad. KJ Williams, foul trouble, question mark. It's certainly going to be a factor in this game. It is a big spread. I did have a lean towards LSU. I didn't play it mostly because of that road angle. Just don't like betting on teams with new coaches, relatively inexperienced team together playing their first road game. Not my cup of tea.
I kind of like that Murray State went into Memphis and beat Memphis last year. Like it's 3 of their top 5 players on this LSU team, same coach. Maybe that matters. I don't know.
Maybe
enough. Not bad.
Next also game may not matter at all.
May not matter. Next game is Nebraska and Michigan State. Boy, this spread came down. Money on Nebraska. Right now it's 6.5, Matt. Michigan State. I respect Nebraska, but I don't think this team's elite by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, they beat Creighton on the road. They also lost to St. John's by 20 and Indiana by 14 on the road. Who do you like tonight?
No one, really. I lean toward Michigan State, but I don't know. I got Malik Hall back last game, played 12 minutes. Whoop-de-doo. Maybe he's, he is a huge piece for them. But betting Michigan State confidently to me would require that I've seen Malik Hall play like 3 or 4 games and look like the, second banana or whatever he's supposed to be on this team. Nebraska, I feel like they kind of hit their peak in value market wise. Like I like this team preseason, bet them too early, lost money. missed the upswing when they covered every game. Sweet. So now I'm just going to sit back and beat my head against the wall while I, miss that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a weirdly different Nebraska team. Like much slower, way better defensively. Their guards are huge outside of Tominaga, so they're like actually have size pretty much across the board. But I was surprised how far this came down. Like Michigan State is still fairly potent offensively when they're not trying to let Jackson Kohler go one-on-one in the post for some reason. Way too much of that this year. Yeah. But with Hall back, they can really invert the floor. You can go a little smaller, have Hauser and Hall be the bigs, space it out, get driving lanes for Hogard and Tyson Walker. I think that bodes well. This just feels a little too low for me at this point. So I'm considering punching against the market here, especially with it under 7, Kai.
Yeah. With Hall in the lineup, Sparty is 4-1 straight up, 3-2 against the spread. Clearly a lot better with him. He's enormous for them. He plays a key role, and he also just makes their depth that much better. You can't play Kohler that many minutes. You just can't and be successful. Hall really is that important. I think they take care of business here. You have to handle Derek Walker. Sissoko gets that assignment. Will he get in foul trouble? That's a legit question. If he does, Michigan State might be in trouble because Walker's going to handle Kohler. It won't be an issue for him. Pace is a question. Can the Huskers keep it low possession? I think Sparty is pretty much a pace taker in this sense. I don't think they mind playing a slow game. That favors the dog a little bit, but with the spread the way it is, just over 2 possessions, I do think Michigan State can cover it. My gut leans Sparty. Give me 6.5 at BetRivers. Scott is where 6.5 is currently. Next game on the rundown, Mississippi State at Tennessee. Number 1 defense in the country in Tennessee, Jim, versus number 6 in Mississippi State. Should be physical, should be grimy, should be ugly. Who do you like?
Yeah, boy, does this feel like an under game, huh? Like just looking at the teams and the offensive capabilities of Mississippi State against the swarming Tennessee defense. Total's been bet up, strangely, up to like 123. Rather surprising for me to see that. That has me considering coming back in on the under. It just feels like a team like Tennessee, their defense, like due for regression shooting, but I think it's hard to capture how awesome they are defensively with their physicality, their length, how panicked they make you most of the time. No take on the spread. I think it's probably about right where it's at. But I could consider the under here just because I don't know how either of these teams scores. And I don't think it's really going to be any sort of up-tempo game.
Yeah, it looks like you're an ugly, gross game, but I think there's some shot-making regression coming both sides. I just don't really love the Mississippi State direction, starting with the Jackson State, but mostly the Nickel State near loss at home. Like Chris Jans really thought that was like an Armageddon type of performance, and it's kind of bled into the 2 games after. Like you should have beat Drake. I'm sorry. Like the 6-point loss was not a great loss. And then Alabama can't really ever be super competitive in that game. I would lean toward Tennessee, as crazy as that sounds, but there's no way I'm laying Rick Barnes minus double digits against Chris Jans, especially with how well Jans can scheme defensively. So another hard stay away from me.
Yeah. Miss State's not going to be intimidated here physically. They just won't. It's a game they'd probably get up for, especially with Chris Jans coaching this team. He's going to revel in the muscle versus muscle, but they don't have enough firepower, I don't think. Their only hope here is mucking it up against Tennessee, who is a fantastic defensive team. But 9.5 is a lot of points. I do lean towards the Bulldogs at that number, but I hate fading Tennessee at home. They're dangerous. They have a ton of weapons. Again, I'm sitting out this one as well. It was mentioned in the chat talking about these big SEC spreads. Yeah, it's tough to really take either side. The LSU, Ole Miss, and Miss State, that's a lot of points to lay against all 3 of those teams, but I do not feel confident in fading any of them. So
just quick note, this total has been, like I said, been bet up 122, 123 area. It's 114 on KenPom, if that matters to you. It's really surprising to see that stark of a difference when it's not on a carrier, or some like completely crazy external circumstance that's affecting the total like that. I was just shocked at the difference and the fact that it's moving away from it even.
That is surprising. I agree. Chat Mob, part 2, Jim.
Well, not many questions that we're not holstering at this point. South Carolina Vanderbilt was asked about. We'll get to that very shortly in best bets. So Matt, I'll go to you for a Mountain West battle. San Jose State, Timmy Miles and the gang, 2-0 to start league play. It's the first time in the history of Mountain West play that they've been above 500. That's a heat check stat. I was stunned by that. They've never been above 500 before. Now they go to Boise State, who is maybe a buy low with Shaver back in there. What do you think?
I'm still laughing at the San Jose State fan forum that was like crushing Tim Miles after the Pacific game, which they blew a big lead, and it was kind of a fluky loss. All of you should ban your accounts and never rejoin that forum ever again. All that said, Jim, I love Tim Miles, love San Jose State. I actually lean Boise State tonight. It's a tough spot. Taco Bell Arena, tough home. I don't think Boise State plays well as a favorite, but I would lean their way.
Yeah, it is a tough spot. Boise is laying 10, a rather big number for a team that struggles to score at times, but I do agree. Spot sets up well on the other side. I think, Kai, we got to ask about the most infuriating game in the history of the world. Bowling Green in Eastern Michigan. I mean, there is no way I have a single read on any of these teams. The only thing you could possibly do on this game is try to live bet both sides at one point and get a middle. I have no interest in pregame betting this.
I hate both these teams. I will not take a side. Looks like EMU took money. Fine, whatever.
Good luck to you.
Not taking a side. Pat asked about the over in this game. That's the only thing you can take. If you bet the under, good luck to you. I'm not saying it'll hit. I'm not saying it'll hit. I'm just saying both these teams are really dumb. They don't play defense, and they can make shots. So
last game was the epitome of the Eastern Michigan thing. Bates has 36, and they lose like convincingly. Like that's what this team is. They don't. Yeah. There's no winning DNA in this team.
All individual players, and that pretty much applies to both teams.
I've bet a couple, I think 3 Eastern Michigan unders in a row, and they've won. But at least the last 2 were like final 20 seconds sweating. Oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? Right. I can't recommend it.
Yeah.
All right. I believe that's it. Looking back yep, that's it. All right. Let's go to best bets. Kai, lead us off.
I'm leading it off. It was teased by Jim already. I'm taking Air Force, the troops, plus 7.5. I think it is at BetRivers. It is plus 7.5. Arguably the best home court advantage in college basketball. It's number 2 per KenPom after Texas Tech. They're sitting at 0-2 in the Mountain West, looking to take down a 1-0 Utah State team. I like the winless versus undefeated angle. They also beat Utah State last year, extremely shorthanded. They had 4 or 5 guys out of the lineup. Forgot what the situation was, probably sickness. They won 49-47 in that game. They won ugly. They can literally beat anybody in Colorado Springs. Weird stuff happens. And they actually do have some legit guard talent this year. Heidbreder, Green, Taylor, all pretty good guards. The pace should be relatively low possession game here. So yeah, I like Air Force here, plus 7.5. Fading Utah State on the road here, Matt. Or Jim, actually. Jim's number 2.
Yeah, number 2. All right. I'm going with Minnesota and Wisconsin under. Probably no surprise to anybody after we teased that this game would be in the best bet section. 124 at BetRivers is the current number. I mean, 2 grinding half-court teams outside the top 300 in possession length. Both offenses are better than each team's defense, so I think that trends towards an under. It's a big rivalry. I think that helps slow it down. And the under is 7-1-1 in the last 9 meetings between these two. Now, Ben Johnson's only been there for 2 of them, but it was 1-0-1 last year. I think it will tend to be a lower scoring half court crawl. And I'm happy to take the under here, fellas. Matthew.
Pat Taylor calls me sick for betting South Carolina. Well, I actually am sick. Currently under the weather. I'm not sick for betting my Gamecocks against Vanderbilt plus 10. Why is Vandy laying 10 to anyone right now? Like, South Carolina hasn't looked terrible the last 6 games. Yeah, a tough matchup against East Carolina. Lost that game. Covered against UAB, West Kentucky, East Michigan. Okay, yeah, those teams are both whatever. So maybe I shouldn't put any stock in that. I'm sorry. This line's just way too big. And I don't really have a strong take on that. I looked at the line and it's like, no, it can't be. Took it. Boom. Bangs ground.
Vandy's game margins this year, they've had 2 that were not single digit.
They got blown out by Southern Miss at home, and they lost at home to Grambling. Like, yes, they can lose to South Carolina at home, nonetheless give 10 points. What?
Yeah. Hey, they just blew out Southeastern Louisiana by 38.
Yeah, CLA was done. CLA was over it. They'd waved the white flag quickly.
Yeah, they were ready for conference play.
I love it. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
So frustrating.
I love the detective work in the chat when we say the games we're holstering. They're like, all right, who's on which one? How do we figure out with total?
Jim's betting under, Mad's betting a crap team, and Kai's betting. I don't know whatever the hell Kai's betting. That's how it goes.
Hey, thanks for joining us, chat mob, and everyone else not part of the chat. We appreciate you too. Please do hit the like button on the way out. We are back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, talking more basketball. Good luck with your bets today. Thanks to BetRivers. Thanks to Field 68. We'll see you tomorrow.